It has been about a week since I've uploaded a video because there's been no Lions news coming out. And in that time, finally got a new mic hooked up. So hopefully this mic is a lot better. I know my voice is completely different from my other videos. My other mic was horrible when it came to picking up my sound and how it actually sounds. So I know it's pretty much changed now. So hopefully the new mic is good. But there's a lot of Lions news that came out today. There was one piece of news that came out a couple of days ago while I was on a trip. Luckily, nothing happened. My family went down and visited a place for a little bit. But there's only one piece of news that happened over that period of time, and every other piece of news I'm going over in today's video happened today. A lot of news came out today, so we'll go over the piece of news that happened a couple of days ago, which was that the Lions have decided to re-sign offensive guard Kayode Awosika. And this is an okay move in my opinion. It's probably going to be near the veteran minimum. It won't cost much at all. There'll be pretty much no guaranteed money. I don't mind this move from what the Lions have done in free agency. If they would have, the reason why I don't mind this move as much is because Brad Holmes in today's press conference at the owners meeting, he had when we're going to be going over his takeaways and stuff like that. He did point out that the Lions they trust Christian Haggerty to start, but will he take that step forward to being a starter? He had a small sample size last season. I 100% think he should be the starter next season, no question. But the Lions, they want competition. So with Kayode being in, I doubt that's like the competition that they're talking about. So I will for sure believe that the Lions are going to sign either veteran guard. I don't really expect that, but probably draft a guard for sure. There's a decent amount of guards, and not really. It's not as good of a draft class for guards as it usually is. But it's not that bad either. You got Donovan Jackson, you got Gray Zabel, you got Tyler Booker, you got Wyatt Millam. So there are some guys out there. Just it's not as deep as it has been in previous years because the mid-round, late-round guards are not very good at all. The early-round guards are okay, but the mid and late-round guards, from what I've watched so far on tape, have not been that good. But Kayode Awosika, I like that move just because he's a great practice squad offensive guard. Don't really like him on the 53-man, but he can fill in there if needed. And do a decent job. So, again, I don't hate this move at all. Probably the veteran minimum. He has played okay when he stepped in. Not great, but he's played okay. I don't mind this move at all. It's going to be near the veteran minimum. Now, the other news that came out today, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one up first because I think this came out before. Let me find it here. Before the owners' meeting and stuff happened today. And this is a pretty big piece of news. You see it on the thumbnail. If I can find it. This is according to Lion King. He's the first person I saw that reported. I don't know if he is or not, but Lion King on Twitter, he's the first one that I saw that reported it. Said that John Cominsky has announced his retirement due to injuries on Instagram. It's gonna take me forever to read this, so here, if you wanna read this, you can. You can if you want to, but I'm not gonna read that because I've already read it, and it's gonna take me 5 minutes to read it. So if you want to pause the video and read it, you can. Or go look at his Instagram handle right there. But I'll just read this right here. He said, "Best of all, my marriage was strengthened and I have my 2 beautiful children, each coming at perfect times in my career, bolstering me to the finish line. I walk away with my family in mind and therefore have found peace in this difficult decision. Time marches on." So, John Cominsky, we're going to miss you, man. I didn't really expect him to come back, if I'm being completely honest, especially after they re-signed guys like Pat O'Connor, Marcus Davenport, Quaid Muhammad. I really did not expect John Cominsky to come back. He's kind of exactly the same type player as Pat O'Connor, maybe a little bit more versatile, but pretty much the same player as Pat O'Connor and probably about on the same level. Quaid Muhammad, Marcus Davenport, 2 defensive ends. John Cominsky, he's playing more defensive end than defensive tackle with us. So this pretty much, once we brought back those guys, pretty much meant to me that he wasn't coming back. I still think there was a shot Pecco would even come back over him, and he's the only defensive end from our last year's team who is still a free agent now. I do think Kyle Pecco will return at some point. I just don't know if it will be after the draft or before the draft. Most likely after the draft with cap reasons and just to see if they can't get a guy in the draft, I guarantee at the defensive tackle position, I guarantee he will come in as a depth piece, training camp piece, whatever you want to call it. But that was the big news today, that John Cominsky announced his retirement after 6 seasons in the NFL. We're gonna miss you, John Cominsky. He had a great 2022 season, had 4.5 sacks, got a lot of pressures. I think he had 20 pressures in like 5 weeks or something like that, which led like all kind of interior defensive linemen, even though he does play on the edge a little bit or something like that. I saw. He was very good in 2022. Had the 2-year, I think it was $8 million contract extension in 2020 in that 2023 offseason. Played in 2023, had a very, very down year. Only had 1 sack, I believe. Might have had 2. I thought he had 1 though. Wasn't as consistent getting to the quarterback. Wasn't as good in the run game. Just had a very overall down year in 2023. She wasn't bad. Just very overall down year compared to 2022. In 2024, he had a season-ending injury in training camp that costed him the year. The Lions were optimistic that he was potentially going to be able to return late in the season. That's why they made the decision to not place him on IR until after roster cuts. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to return, and that's unfortunately the way he has to go out. So, John Cominsky, sorry, man, we couldn't get you a Super Bowl. But enjoy your retirement, man. And we will miss you a little bit on the defensive line. It's going to be weird not seeing 79 on the field anymore. 79 was a weird number for a defensive lineman, so it's going to be kind of weird not seeing him on the field anymore. And we got, now with the owners meeting, press conferences, and stuff like that, there's a lot to go over here, so this part is going to take like 6 to 8 minutes, so I'm going to tell you that right now. But first piece, well, this actually is not anything to do with the owners meeting, is that according to Eric Schilt, Lions Insider, Lions wide receiver / punt returner Khalif Raymond restructured his contract, which takes a pay cut, doubles guarantees, and eliminates his 2026 cap hit. I believe I went over the details. I don't think he's under contract for next season. I think those were voided years is what the 2026 cap hit eliminates. I don't think he's under contract next season. I usually know this stuff, but I don't believe he's under contract for next season, so I'm pretty sure that eliminated 2026 cap hit as void years. But I'm not 100% sure on that, so you might want to go look that up. I'm going to look it up after this video. It's just going to take too long for me to look it up now. But that's good overall, whether he's under contract or not. Our 2026 cap space right now, I believe, is set at like $5 million, which is like 28th in the league right now or something like that. Might be a little bit more than that after this Darius Smith and Joe Reese-Maven release, and after this restructure. But we're not in a good situation in terms of cap space right now. Next year, we're probably going to restructure a whole bunch of big names like McNeil, Goff especially. He has like an $80 million cap hit next season. So we're going to restructure a lot of guys, possibly St. Brown as well, maybe Taylor Decker. So we're going to make a lot of moves next offseason, probably some shock releases as well. But I like this move a lot. It won't save a lot of cap space next year, but it'll probably save a couple $1 million, which we need at this point for our 2026 cap space. And now moving on to the owners meeting news. I'm going to go over my takeaways, and I'm going to review everything from what the Lions Insiders have said and essentially just what they've said. So my takeaways, I watched this whole 28-minute press conference. My takeaways is that, let me just pull up my tweet. I made a tweet about it. It perfectly summons what I was thinking the whole time in my video, or on the press conference. I said, after watching Brad Holmes' press conference today, I really, really do believe that a defensive tackle and especially a defensive end is not a priority in this year's draft. Now, let me say this. A priority does not mean I don't think we will draft a defensive end. I do think we will draft a defensive end in the draft, just not until the 4th or if we pick up a 5th-round pick. I don't expect us to take a DE right now within the first 3 rounds after what Brad Holmes said today. Obviously, Brad Holmes is the most unpredictable general manager in the NFL. You never know what he's going to do. I mean, that's with a lot of general managers, but especially Brad Holmes. You never know what he is going to do. But personally, he said in today's press conference that they were very comfortable at the defensive tackle position specifically, but also at defensive end. They thought they had a lot of depth there. They loved what they did. He said they over-accomplished essentially what they wanted to do in free agency, especially on that defensive line, by getting O'Connor back. By getting Levi back was a big one, he said. By getting Roy Lopez here. By bringing back Muhammad Davenport. He said that was a big priority for them in terms of they actually accomplished more than what they expected to do. and he said they have very good depth now at defensive tackle and the defensive end position. And if injuries don't happen like last season, he said they're pretty comfortable at that position right now, which makes me think he also put out some other stuff that lead me not to believe they're going to take a defensive end, which also included that I said it sounded like to me a offensive guard, cornerback, or safety will be more of a priority in the 2025 draft than a defensive tackle or a defensive end. And that's the other reason why I believe a defensive end will not be taken at least until the 4th round in this year's draft. A guard, it sounded to me that a guard is a very, 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 very realistic possibility to be our first round pick this year, if we hold on to that first round pick and don't trade back. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If Brad Holmes trades up for a guard in this draft, from what I have watched on film and from other people's opinions, it would be so stupid to trade up for a guard in this draft. You got Gray Zabel. He can move all over the offensive line. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He can even play center. He can play every position on that offensive line, which he's most versatile offensive lineman probably in this draft. But he's got to work a little bit on guard. He's got to become a full-time guard. He was a tackle in college, mostly. So he's got to transition fully over to guard. I don't know if we want that right now. If we're taking a first-round pick with our guard, if we're taking a guard with our first-round pick, they better be a day one starter over Graham Glasgow. Mahogany better be the other starter. But if we trade up for an offensive guard, that could be the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Tyler Booker guard, but he's pretty good, but he had a horrible combine. Donovan Jackson, probably my second most liked guard, and he can also play tackle. But he's mainly a guard. He is he is the most realistic option for right now at us at guard. Gray Zabel, we did have him in for, I believe, a top 30 visit. It might have been a formal meeting. I think we had Donovan Jackson in for a formal meeting at the combine, and then we had Gray Zabel as one of our top 30 visits so far. I wouldn't be mad if we take any three of those guys, but we just better not be trading up for him at least in the first round, because I'd lose my mind. None of those guys are worth trading up for. Maybe at 28, a guy like Tyler Booker or Gray Zabel would be worth picking. Maybe even Donovan Jackson, but it doesn't make any sense to trade up for a guard. No guard is going to go ahead of 28 unless it's maybe pick 27 with the Ravens, in my opinion. But the other positions, cornerback and safety, he said Avonte Maddox, he's very versatile. He can play safety. He's good on special teams. So I expect Avonte Maddox to probably become a safety for us next season. He'll probably be safety 3 next year. I do expect us to take another safety in this draft, a full-time safety. Maybe a guy like Malachi Moore from Bama or Jalen Reed from Penn State. He's a Detroit native. I could potentially see him being drafted. There's a couple other safeties late in the draft I like as well. Obviously, Sheila Sanders I've kind of liked on tape, but he will not be a Detroit Lion. There's no way he will be a Detroit Lion. At the cornerback position, if we take a cornerback within the first 3 rounds, I'm going to lose it. Unless if it's a corner who can play safety, I'm going to lose it. We do not need that. There are a couple corners in this draft that I believe have safety possibilities, but it just doesn't make any sense for me. But those are the main takeaways I got from watching the press conference. There's a couple other takeaways as well that I had as well. He didn't really talk about receiver that much. He said he was glad to get Tim Patrick back, so I don't really know what he's thinking on receiver right now. I do think we'll add one more, but I have no clue if it's going to be another veteran through free agency or a rookie. This receiver class is horrible. I've watched a decent amount of receivers so far. Haven't really loved anybody. I like Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I like Nick Nash a lot from San Jose State. But he's probably a 5th or 6th round pick at earliest, and I don't really know if he's capable to be a wide receiver 4 quite yet in the NFL. And we need that wide receiver 4 guy. If Khalif Raymond has to be wide receiver 4, it's fine, but that's not what you really want. You want him to be more of a wide receiver 5. But Josh Reynolds did end up getting signed by the New York Jets. He reunites with Aaron Glenn. But DJ Chark is still available. I would love to see the Lions bring back DJ Chark. You got a lot of other players still available as well. A bit bigger body receivers. Keenan Allen, he will not be a Lion. I'd be shocked if he was. Nelson Aguilar, I know he's undersized, but I could see us coming here. I could see him coming here. Jamison Crowder, maybe. So there's a couple guys still out there. Deontay Johnson, there's no way that would happen, but I feel like he'd thrive in our offense. But I do expect the Lions to add another receiver. I just really don't know if it's going to be through the draft or through free agency right now, because he really did not speak on wide receiver today. at the quarterback position. This shocked me. This is probably the other biggest takeaway I had, and then we'll probably wrap this video up. He said signing Kyle Allen has the legitimate chance essentially to become quarterback 2 and compete with Hendon Hooker, which means to me that Hendon Hooker has a legitimate high chance to be on his way out of the city of Detroit. I think there's a legitimate chance that he will not be a Detroit Lion next season. If I already said that before, I think I probably have, but my chances of him not being a Detroit Lion now are even higher with him saying that. That's what I believed when we signed Kyle Allen, but I'm like, maybe they're just signing him for insurance. To have 4 quarterbacks on the roster, this quarterback class is horrible in terms of late quarterbacks and stuff like that. Even just in general, around quarterbacks, we only got 2 guys in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I'm really not that big of a fan of Shedeur Sanders. Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart might be the most overrated quarterback prospect we've had in the NFL draft since Kenny Pickett. And watch Jackson Dart go to the Steelers, though. That'd be something. By the way, I know this video is going way too long, but the draft, my draft news and stuff like that, mock drafts, draft breakdowns, stuff like that, should be coming out here shortly, hopefully within the next week. I want to have at least around 3 weeks to talk about it before the draft happens. We'll be doing probably at least 3 mock drafts on the channel. I'll probably do 1 full first round, maybe even 2 rounds of the NFL draft. That'll be a long video, and I'll do a couple breakdowns as well. I won't do the same amount of breakdowns because, I'm not an NFL scout or anything. I don't watch that much film on college players until we actually draft them. But I do take a look at a film at the main players and even some mid-round guys, especially positions of need. So at the early round, first round, second round defensive ends, I'll probably do some breakdowns on. So look forward to that. But those are my main takeaways. I do think Hendon Hooker will be on his way out of the city of Detroit. I think there's a legitimate chance. My dad also brought this up when I was talking to him about this today, that the Lions might have also signed Kyle Allen to free up some possibilities for Hendon Hooker when it comes to a trade. Some way that teams can say, oh, the Lions are willing to potentially get rid of Hendon Hooker for some draft capital. Maybe get a 6th-round pick for him. And if we can get a 6th-round pick for Hendon Hooker, I'm doing it because we do not have a 5th-round pick in this year's draft. And with how deep this position is, a defensive end and defensive tackle, even safety, that pick would be very, very useful. We don't have a 6th-round pick either next year, so maybe we trade it for a future pick. But those main takeaways. We'll go over these last couple things here. This came out as well. They're not pretty much big news, but I know Lions fans will like this, and I like it as well. Big day for the NFL aesthetic. Teams can now wear alternate throwback unis up to 4 times per year, which is 1 previous from last year. You could only do it 3 times every season. From last year, now you can do it 4, so we'll probably see the black unis 4 times this year. We only saw them 3 times last year. Colton Pouncey said about Zadarius Smith, I didn't really touch on this, but just go over what they said, the insiders. Holmes said, we could have loved to have been able to keep Zadarius Smith, we just weren't able to. But we've been keeping in touch with his agent, and he understands that process. We'll just see how it goes. So I do think there's a slim shot Zadarius Smith will return. When I mean slim, I mean 30%. I do think he wants to be back as a Lion. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He's 32 years old. I'm pretty sure he's turning 33 this offseason. So I'd love Zadarius Smith to come back. I'd love it. This is also pretty big news as well from Eric Woodyard. It's likely that the Lions will exercise the 5th-year option for wide receiver Jameis Williams, according to Brad Holmes. He said, look, it's heading that way, that we are most likely going to be doing that. He said, Holmes thinks he has more in him, and it makes sense as a great talent. And it absolutely does. I'm assuming his 5th-year option will be anywhere from around $10 to $12 million, which is definitely worth it. He's probably on pace right now to get around $20 million. I'd say anywhere from $16 to $20 million is what he's probably going to get on a new contract if he can play like he did last year. But that's pretty much it, I believe. Brad Holmes also said on Zadarius Smith, says they just couldn't afford him based on their current situation and what's coming down the road. Again, staying in touch with their agent. He also said that Brad Holmes felt Zadarius Smith played good snaps for them last year, according to Dan Miller. And that is, I believe, it. That is it. So, a lot of Lions news to go over. I know this video is insanely long, but one Pride Go Lions. Probably will get, again, a mock draft coming out here soon, or some posts, whatever, about something. Some draft breakdowns possibly within the next week. So forward to that. Don't know if I'll see it before that unless some Lions news comes out. But one Pride Go Lions. just hopefully the NFL draft can come soon because this offseason is already dragging. One Pride, go Lions.